I recently made a new friend at a dinner party who said to me, "You know, Bob, it seems like you've had this really interesting career as a negotiation professor. I know nothing about negotiation. If there were like 5 things you could do to learn negotiation from scratch, and you had to do that now, imagining you knew nothing, what would you do?" When I heard that, I thought, gosh, that's a really good question. So for tip number 5, I prepared a free tool that will make it so much easier for you to improve your negotiation skills. So stick around so you can shave months or even years off of your own negotiation learning curve. And so in this video, I'm going to offer you the answer I gave to my new friend about that question. I'm Bob Bordone. I'm a senior fellow at Harvard Law School. I founded and directed Harvard Law School's Negotiation and Mediation clinical program for 20 years, and I am currently the founder and principal of the Cambridge Negotiation Institute. Okay, so here are my 5 actions that I would take if I had to learn everything I know about negotiation from scratch. And if you stay to the end, I'm going to share with you a bonus 6th tip that I would suggest for learning about negotiation from scratch. So tip number 1 is read, read, read. Read about the art and science of negotiation. Now, I'm guessing that this is not surprising you. After all, you are watching a video from a negotiation nerd who is also a professor. So it's not surprising that I start with reading. But reading is going to be helpful, and not just reading anything. I want to suggest reading negotiation and dispute resolution books that take the empirical research and make it practical and usable and easy to and fun to read. So let me give you a few very specific examples here. The kind of 101 Bible of negotiation learning is a book called Getting to Yes, Negotiating Agreement Without Giving In. The book is more than 40 years old. It's now in its 3rd edition. It's super easy to read, and it's a great primer. Another book I'd suggest, Difficult Conversations, How to Discuss What Matters Most. This is a book that, again, super easy to read, talks about emotions and partisan perceptions and negotiation. It's also in its 3rd edition. The 3rd book is actually called 3D Negotiation. So this book is really about coming up with strategy for negotiation. And I'm going to offer you one more book that you should read, and I appreciate there's a risk of sounding braggadocious here, but in March of 2025, I have a new book that I would really suggest you read. It's called Conflict Resilience, Negotiating Disagreement Without Giving Up or Giving In. That's available beginning March 18th, and you could pre-order it here. So to pre-order that, we're putting a link right here and also in the description below. My second piece of advice would be honing your skills of observation. So one of the things I most admired about my mentor, Roger Fisher, who founded the Harvard Negotiation Project, is that he was incredibly attentive to human behavior. Almost all the time, he would take lessons from observing how people in ordinary life would influence or persuade other people. So practically speaking, I think what that means is just almost putting on in your mind a lens that starts to look around the world for negotiation. Doing this will actually help you learn what are the kinds of moves that work and what are the kinds of moves that tend to backfire. Third thing I would suggest is negotiate whenever you possibly can. So many times people say to me, well, I'm not very good at this, or I don't know how to negotiate, or it makes me worried, I just said yes, and I think like, you cannot improve in something unless you are doing it. So yes, when you can, of course, prepare. But even when you can't prepare, practice. So let me give you an example. A few weeks ago, I am driving through Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I wanted to visit a museum. I only had 45 minutes to visit this museum, and the cost of entry was 20 bucks. And so I thought to myself, I'm just going to negotiate to see if I can get in here cheaper. It worked. Anytime you have even the scintilla of thought, like, could this be negotiable? Try it. Practice. That will make you get better. You'll start to feel less fearful in doing it. And you'll learn lessons, again, about what's working and what isn't, what feels like you and what doesn't. So fourth, look for feedback. Well, how do you get feedback? I want to suggest two ways you can. First, every time you engage in negotiation, just see how people react. Did they say yes or no? If they said yes, did they seem happy about it? Did they feel like they were negotiated? Did they cross their arms and begrudgingly say yes? That's useful feedback for you to get a sense of what's working and what isn't. But the second way to get feedback is get a coach. In fact, I would say a high percentage of my work is executives, deans, presidents of organizations, individuals reaching out to me and saying, I want to get better at this. I've done some reading. I actually observe negotiations a lot. I actually negotiate a lot, right? The first three things. What I really need is some expert wisdom on how to get better. The fifth tip I would offer is just becoming more self-reflective. So what does that mean? At the end of every negotiation, just on a piece of paper perhaps, or even to yourself or on your phone, write down what are two things you did or said that you think were effective, that worked well. And what are two things that you would coach yourself to do differently the next time? But the next time you negotiate, just pay attention to those things and see how you're doing. What I guarantee will happen is over time, your worked wells list will grow and your do differently list will shift. If you actually have more time for this, let me give you a suggestion that I give to my students, which is to keep a negotiation journal. So a negotiation journal does everything I just said and a bit more, because in addition to reflecting on what you might do differently, it also invites you to think about, why did I not do that this time? And what are the barriers for me to taking on that new behavior? And what strategies could I use next time to get over those barriers? So there ends up being this kind of deep self-reflection piece that over time increases your self-awareness, makes you more nimble in the negotiation moment. In order to make journaling as easy as possible, I actually created a PDF template that you can download for free by just clicking the link in the description below. And lastly, my sixth bonus tip. This was not a tip that was available way back when I knew nothing about negotiation, but it is available to you. If you haven't already, I would watch all of the videos on this channel. I would take notes, I would extract lessons. That means you need to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and ring the bell so you never miss all the new content coming your way. To get started on your journey, watch the next video. It's the very first one I produced, and it's called How to Improve My Negotiation Skills. I'm Bob Bordone, and thanks for watching. Okay, it's not difficult to keep watching. Click, click.